Oh, now I've got to keep working. So I'm going to start by telling the story of how my father's side of the family came to this country. So after the Civil War, the U.S. government turned its attention to putting an end to the stubborn resistance of the people in the plains and the deserts and the mountains out west. The Apache people and the Comanche and the Ute and the Dene and the Sioux and the Yakima and the Nez Perce and so on. And my family's history involves the homeland of the Dakota Sioux. In the early 1860s, the U.S. Army managed to conquer them in a brutal fashion in what's now called the Dakota War. And not long after that, in a poor rural part of Sweden, my great-great-grandfather, a young man at the time, encountered a representative from an American railroad company. And the company was recruiting workers to come over to America and help build the railroad across what's now Minnesota and North and South Dakota. And in return, the workers would get paid, and they would also get a plot of good farmland that was then theirs to settle and to build a livelihood with. So my great-great-grandfather was not going to pass that up. He signed on. And before he went, he proposed marriage to my great-great-grandmother and said what many have said since: I'll send word and some money once I'm established in the U.S., and you can come over and we'll start a life together. And that is what happened. And the way the story's been passed down in my family, as the railroad workers made their way, laying track across the upper plains there, their boss would point out plots of land that had been staked out and divvy them up among the men along the way. And after they were done, the workers then were able to come back and claim those plots and settle there. So when I got curious about this and wanted to learn more about the kind of wider history here, and so as I looked into the history, I found that the railroad company and the U.S. government were very clear about their intentions here, why there was a representative there in a rural part of Sweden. They wanted to bring Nordic blood to populate the area that they had just conquered from the Dakota Sioux people. And they believed that Northern Europeans were superior and wanted their numbers to grow in this growing country. And that's why my great-great-grandparents got such a good deal as immigrants. And this is not my interpretation of the story. This is the stated intent in documents at the time among government officials and railroad tycoons. They were clear in their words and their actions. The Chinese railroad workers who helped to build the Transcontinental Railroad, they didn't get a plot of land after they were done. The Irish railroad workers did not get a plot of land. The freed African American workers, the Mexican workers, they didn't get land, and instead they got trapped in indentured servitude or worse, or got sent back. So my great-great-grandfather happened to be a poor young man from Sweden, and so he got a plot of land and an easy path to citizenship. So now, my great-great-grandparents were honest, faithful people who worked hard and they worked smart and they contributed to their growing community, helped to found the first Lutheran church in Worthington, Minnesota. And my grandparents, my parents, they're all modest, honest, faithful people I'm proud of that have worked hard and worked smart. But for all the virtues that I can claim and extol of my family, and that may not be the full story, right? You know, the God's honest truth about families is always just a little bit more complicated than the triumphant stories we like to, talk about that cousin. But that's not the point. Nothing can take away from the fact that we were offered an advantage from the start that we didn't do anything to earn. I'm comfortable saying that. It wasn't fair. Now, some folks got bigger advantages than we did, that's for sure. But most folks have not, and have started out with quite a lot of disadvantage. So, in the present day, when I have seen day laborers lined up early in the morning, waiting for a contractor or a farmer or a rancher to come hire them for a few hours, I see mostly immigrants, right? Recent immigrants, Mexico, Central America, and I think, my great-grandfather, you could say, was in that line. But he was picked out early, generations ago, and he was given a job that meant that he didn't have to come back the next day to ensure that he could earn enough for a living for his family. And now when I see day laborers lined up early in the morning, the other thing I think about is what Jesus tried to teach about the realm of heaven. Jesus said, if we want to understand the realm of heaven, think about a gathering of day laborers out early in the morning needing to get work, to earn bread, to fill the empty bellies of their families. And Jesus tells the story of a landowner or a farm boss coming by first thing in the morning and hiring a good crew of day laborers to work the vineyard that he owns. And he hires them for what is just. And we can understand that to mean a regular day's wage, which was enough for the daily bread, for the daily keep of a family. Enough, but not more than enough. Now, any halfway competent farm manager knows the budget they have for labor per day, and they know what work needs to be done and the number of workers and the number of people it takes to do it. And so they go out early in the morning and they hire that number of workers that they know that they need for that day. And furthermore, they're going to size up the line of workers there and pick out the people who look the strongest and the healthiest and the best able to put the most labor into each hour. The older workers, and the injured and the infirm, those who are out just because they are desperate for work, they're not going to make the cut. And so our first sign that something is amiss here with this landowner in Jesus' story is that he comes back to the marketplace to hire more workers. The kingdom of heaven is starting to look a little bit different than business as usual. And as the day goes on, he keeps coming back to hire more and more workers, which doesn't even seem like a good use of his time, right? So what's going on with this landowner? Either he isn't very good at planning, or his priorities are upside down. It's starting to seem like he just wants to hire anybody and everybody. And this becomes very clear when at the end of the day, this landowner comes back one last time to see who's still waiting for work, or who maybe couldn't get up early enough. Why are you standing around idle all day? He asks them. And they answer him honestly and truthfully. We are here because no one has hired us. It's not because they're lazy, as the accusation often is. They are ready and willing to work, but no one has hired them. And now why hasn't anyone hired them? The folks left without work at the end of the day are the least desirable candidates. And they have been beaten out round after round, right? And there will be more than one farm boss coming by through the day, picking and choosing and discriminating, like picking teams in the schoolyard, right? Or the draft pick for professional sports teams. They've been picking out folks who look like they could work the best, or picking out folks that they would prefer for some reason or another. It's up to them to choose who they want to hire. I like where you come from. I don't like how you look. I want Nordic blood. I don't want Samaritans or Mexicans, and so on. Meanwhile, the folks who lose are still there. They still need work. They're wanting to work, and they're worrying as the day goes on about the hungry bellies at home. But the landowner of Jesus' parable about the kingdom of heaven, this caretaker of the kingdom of heaven on earth, doesn't seem to care about the reasons somebody else has found these workers undesirable. He doesn't care about the sense of scarcity, restricting how many people he should invite in. What is his budget for the day anyway? Who is this guy? He just cares that they are ready and willing. That's enough. That is what the realm of heaven is like. That's what the kingdom of heaven is like, Jesus is telling us. And then it doesn't end there. When the day is done, the caretaker of the kingdom of heaven lines up everybody according to when he hired them. And he pays them each a full day's wage. Each of them gets enough for their daily bread, enough to fill the empty stomachs at home and to provide for their needs for the day. Enough, but not more than enough. And the workers who were hired first in the morning, our first round draft picks, are furious. They won that first round pick, right? They've been working hard all day. They've been putting in more hours, only to get just as much as the last round picks, who only worked an hour, if that, when the sun was already setting. So Jesus is provoking in us that sense of scandal, right? Like, imagine yourself in each of these positions. How would you feel? He's trying to bring those feelings out to the surface and then to do something with them. The caretaker of the kingdom of heaven on earth replies, "You've received what I said you would receive. You agreed to this. I said I'd pay you what was just," which we all understood was a fair day's wage. We both fulfilled our agreement here. It should be no concern of yours if I'm generous with others. Are you envious because I am generous? They're also willing to work. They also need their daily bread. Such is the realm of heaven. This is the economics of grace, you can say, which, of course, the realm of heaven operates by the economics of grace, which scandalizes our earthly value systems. It's a scandal, which is a word that keeps coming up in the New Testament, and Jesus keeps doing it. And Jesus and his crazy followers keep scandalizing people with grace. Jesus' parables about the kingdom of heaven, one after another, in one way or another, short-circuit our sense of deserving and undeserving, our sense of worthy and unworthy, our sense of entitlement and sense of resentment. Everyone can get enough for what they need, what they truly need, as long as we are willing to say yes to the invitation to join in the work. And the rest, grace is a scandal to our sense of entitlement, that we ought to get more than others because we are more deserving or because we got here first. Grace is a scandal to our resentment of others who get more or get the same or get anything at all, if we've deemed them to be undeserving in sharing the bounty. Grace is a scandal in how it cuts us all down to size, and then lifts us up together. When we sincerely know that what we most truly need is grace, all of a sudden the playing field is level. It's a circle. It's not a line or a hierarchy. It doesn't matter when we've come to dedicate our lives and our work to God. It doesn't matter if we've been working this land for generations. And if we're doing it for those reasons, then maybe we haven't truly said yes. Doesn't matter if we've just been hired to work for a season or a day. We all belong in the realm of God's grace, and God deems that we all should receive what we most truly need. It's up to us to say yes. And if we're envious because of God's generosity, that can cause us to say no. So now, the way this parable is usually preached makes it out to be just about heavenly things, right? About what happens after we die. But Jesus consistently has this way of marrying heaven and earth, right? I mean, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Jesus prays and instructs us to live this out. And his parables are all very gritty with the stuff of the earth and with the realities of our lives together. Jesus shows us that we are to try to live out this prayer of thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, through our actions and our intentions and through the values that guide us in the way that we value our lives and others' lives, through the ways that we treat others. Be merciful as your Creator is merciful. Be generous as your Creator is generous. So grace is the gift from God of our eternal souls. And at the same time, grace is also the gift from God of our daily bread. Give us our daily bread. And how else can we respond but with utter gratitude, beyond deserving or undeserving? And the more we're able to just enjoy this and to really savor this scandalous generosity, the more we ourselves become generous, the more we are willing to commit some scandals as well in sharing this generosity of this good land and of the good earth and of the good work that we have to do with any and all who are ready to say yes and eager to lend a hand. And for this, I give thanks to God. Thanks be to God.